All right. Well, lately, I know that we've been kind of saying, welcome to, first and foremost, welcome to the Tiger Minor League Report special presentation. One of these breakdowns with you I like to say we do them probably once or twice a month for our Patreon folks and then just for our YouTube channel. But we haven't, in terms of pitching successes, it's been few and far between this year because of injuries and what have you. But one pitcher that we were both really high on to start the year, and we saw him down in spring training with Lucas Elsault, who finished the year strong last year in Lakeland and now adjusting to West Michigan. One of the only few pitchers really to adjust to the West Michigan. And the MLB pipeline top 30 came out today and had Ben Jacobs as the Tigers' best pitcher. And that's another conversation, maybe for another day, maybe for this video. I'm not sure. But anyway, Elsault can make a run for that case based off his last month or so, Chris.
Yeah, it's been fun to see him figure things out because we were a big fan last year, like you said, and he put up numbers, he got promoted, and then it was a little bit rocky once he got to West Michigan, and you were hoping he was going to take off this year. In the first 2 months were pretty rough for him. I'm looking, his first 35 innings, he had given up 21 earned runs, so that's an ERA of like close to 6. But then in June, just 6 earned runs in 15 innings, and he has not allowed a single earned run in July in 14 and 1/3 innings. The hits are down, the strikeouts are up, the walks are holding steady. And what you see in this video is, it's not the best angle, right? It's an offset angle. This is Peoria. They don't have the best setup. You don't get the velos either, but the announcer says, 91, 93 for the most part. But what you'll see is flashes of his sort of above average to maybe even plus curveball at times. And he breaks out an above average to plus changeup too. And that looks like it could be the game changer for him. We know he was working on that, but he throws it a fair amount in this, and he gets some nasty looking swings with it. Usually, I think starting around like the third inning. But yeah, it's everything we like about him is still there. It's a good frame, good delivery, has all the pitches. Still hoping for more consistent velocity, but he has taken the pitchability that we saw last year in low A and brought it up to high A now.
Yeah, and one of the things about LSL too, and it's common with a lot of these high A pitchers when they make that adjustment from Lakeland, there's that curveball. There's an example, and we saw this in spring training. The Tigers will have them on a plan of sorts, where I guess in that what was it at the exhibition starting was against Philly. I can't remember who they played.
Yeah,
Where he just threw nothing but curveballs, just sequencing, and they work on those things. And so, excuse me, the first month or two may have been just him trying to figure out how to command the change, but also just getting up to a higher level where just the Tigers might have him specifically working on like maybe they break it down by this is pure speculation, but also part fact where maybe part of the wow, that's a good point. Jeez, let me
he
yeah.
and Wetwiska both got people throwing their bats yesterday.
Yeah, that and what Wiska's also been is Aaron from Lakeland is the broadcaster is doing a Tigers Daily thing tomorrow that's coming out. But there's always that adjustment period, and some guys do it, some don't. Rainer Castillo comes to mind. Still hasn't adjusted to high A yet.
Yeah, it's that every level is a new challenge. This is when I think the changeups start piling in. By the way, I think he strikes this guy out with one.
Oof.
Yeah, that's a right on right changeup. That's nasty. Yeah, it's that's the thing we want to see. It's in also in regard to Jacobs, who's struggled since he got up to high A. We like to remember that Cadar Montero spent 2.5 years in West Michigan, and his first 40 starts there, his ERA was close to 5, I think, and he finally figured it out in his third year. When we've talked about it a bunch, the Tigers provided him with better stuff and better translation and all that good stuff, but sometimes it just takes a while to figure things out.
Yeah, and ultimately, that's very true about we did. I remember when he'd go out there and we made kind of a joke. Oh, it's a kind of Montero star. We're like, meh. I didn't like meh, but we're just like, well, we know what it is. and it was a guy who was going out there just giving them innings, because at the time she didn't really have a starter that was doing that. Then, as you mentioned, something clicked, and then just away we went. Now Montero is arguably the most valuable pitcher on the Tiger staff this year, because based off what he's been able to do as a starter and as a reliever. But back to Elsault, though, out of Miami, community was a community college, right? Or
I think he went to Chipola.
Chipola, that's right.
It
Okay.
was a community college, yeah. But yeah, and they signed him for I think like 40,000 over slot in the 13th round, 12th round. It was him and Warwick back to back. I don't remember which one went where, but yeah, like he's you can see he's throwing a lot of strikes. He's throwing all his different shapes. He's got a cutter to go along with the curve. He gave up 1 hit and 1 walk in this game in 5 innings. I think it was like 60 pitches total. And yeah, it's I hesitate to make comparisons to other pitchers in the system, but it's kind of natural, right? Like I was like, well, he's got these above average secondary pitches. It's Juan Hernandez playing second base. It's like there's like a sort of a Reese Olson-ish feel, maybe not quite as much velocity yet, and just in terms of the secondaries are more advanced than the fastball. You could even say Montero though too. Yeah, that's another changeup right there. I think he got 3 of his changeup or strikeouts on swinging changeups. And honestly, he did something similar to this last year. I think he went on like 35 inning, but maybe not 35, but it was like a 20 plus inning scoreless streak.
And that's, I'm not trying to diss anything about low A or excuse me, single A, but there's a difference with that when you start mastering. Is in Ryan Garco said this: you start mastering a level, and then you go up from there. But the one thing I noticed about this outing here is there's not one single real solid barrel up. They just cannot barrel it up at all. And in the Cardinal system, in terms of high A, is much improved than it was 2 years ago.
Well, I mean, this I don't think Ty Pete played in this game. I'm not sure if the other guy did, but this team absolutely destroyed the Whitecaps pitching in the first 2 games of the series. There was, Ty Pete hit 2 homers in the one game. The other guy hit 3. They were just bombing them, and Elsault just kind of came in and shut them down. But unfortunately, the Whitecaps couldn't score either. I think they lost 1-0 in the 9th or 10th inning.
Ugh, that's a terrible way to go about it. But at any rate, so we'll pause it here for a second. And you want to head up to Toledo to talk about Yilber Diaz. And I give props to you. So Colin saw him pitch yesterday, was impressed. And then at the same time, about 2 minutes later, you sent me a text with the numbers. And I was on softball last night. And I was like, well, holy crap. So Diaz here was signed from the Diamondbacks, was once a top 100 prospect for Arizona. We made a joke about him. I think he was on an inside a number on the Motor Metrics, because his ERA at one point this year was like 64 or something like that. He's top 1 outing. But Chris, this is a possible diamond in the rough signing here by the Tigers.
Yeah, so they got him, claimed him off waivers from the Diamondbacks, and he'd been up in the big leagues each of the last 3 seasons. But it looks like the Tigers made some small mechanical changes for him, just based on the data in Baseball Savant. Looks like his arm slot has gone up 2 inches to get a little bit more ride on his fastball. But you won't notice any fastballs in this video, because this is 3 outings ago, and he threw 11 straight sliders. And I want to say he got 6-7 swings and misses. It's a gyro slider, right? Like not. There's call strike 3. Struck out the side. It's mid 80s. The fastball though is 96, 97 up to 100. I think he tops out at 99 in these outings. But it's kind of reminiscent of the relievers the Tigers used to have back in the day, where they would come up and they would throw close to triple digits and have an interesting slider. And yeah, I mean, I think, like all relievers, it's going to be about throwing strikes, but this is definitely the sort of arm that they could use if he can throw those strikes.
Yeah, and the ultimately you're talking about, like, on the international side of things, that's how the Tigers used to have these relievers come up and be around for a little bit, or kind of were stuck around for long. Either they were long term or they were up for a minute and then they were gone. But It is worth noting that one of the things that Scott Harris gets a lot of crap about is that he takes a lot of quote unquote garbage and doesn't do anything with it and blah blah blah. But I mean, you look at that guy's huge. Who the hell is that guy? Oh, is that
That's
Towdy
Sandy Leon,
Sandy
former big
Leon?
leaguer. Yeah.
Wow, he's gotten huge, man. I mean, I can't room to talk, but damn, man. Anyway, sorry, let's get distracted. And like for example, Troy Watts was added to the 40 man who made some improvements. So a lot look, I understand not all these things are going to work out, but the Tigers have been able to, if you look at some elsewhere for the lefty that went to the Giants, Matt Gage, for example, they've worked out elsewhere. But one thing they have in common seems like they've made a stop in Toledo.
Yeah, and let's go back a couple of years where we'd see guys get picked up and go to Toledo, and Diaz, on the 40 man, and throws hard, has a breaking ball. It would not shock me if we see him in Detroit in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Next time they need a righty, or they're facing a team that doesn't have a. Oh, I pointed out that was in fact that called ball was in fact a strike. Just so you know. And he walks. I think that's Will Benson. He walks him, and that's the thing. It's a couple walks, but I think we have 4 1/3 innings here, and I think there's 6 strikeouts and a couple walks and 1 hit. It's a good arm.
He's limited. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I would say he's still just 25. Still technically a prospect. Has not exhausted his rookie eligibility.
There's another example of that right there.
The announcer was mentioning Jim Weber there, so I kept it in.
Okay. Well, you know what? Let's get some.
Oh, they caught him. If the late Jim Weber was here, he'd tell us what kind of plane that is going by. Might be a seaplane. I don't know. I was not a part-time pilot. Yilber Diaz.
This was reminds me of from Drew and Mike show. Mike always knew what plane. Oh, look at that fastball. That is nice. But go ahead.
No, that's the thing. His fastball isn't running a super high whiff rate. It's pretty low, like under 20%. But the whiff rate on the slider is above 50%. And if you kind of pitch backwards like that, you can surprise guys with the fastball. And the Tigers, like I said, they've risen or put his arm slot up a little bit. So the IVB was like 14.5 inches, which is way too close to the dead zone with Arizona, and it's 16.5 with Toledo, which is better. It's more playable. And it shows a little bit more arm side life when he does throw it. So, yeah, I think it's useful. He also apparently had a knuckle curve that he threw with Arizona, but he's basically shelved that completely. So the Tigers are doing some things with him. And like I said, it's relievers are so fickle and strange, and he might go out and give up 8 runs in the next outing. We kind of highlighted Tanner Rainey last year. He went on a nice run around this time, and he did get up, I think, but I don't think he helped a ton. But this definitely looks like an arm who could be useful.
And look, we've talked about this before, and I give you a lot of props for this about the Tigers burning through right-handers. Like, I was kind of upset about Dylan Smith, and as far as letting him go, and what has he done since he's gotten to San Francisco? Posting ERA of 3 with the FIP of 4.51, 16 strikeouts and 15 innings work. Walk 7, so he hasn't been that would have been serviceable here, I think.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's fine. Yeah, it's what makes teams is one of those things, because this guy you would say this is a good arm. Why did Arizona cut him? And I think they just kind of got tired of having him around. It's just one of those things like in fantasy where you have a guy and you're like, get out of here, and then they go on to have some success elsewhere. I think it's possible with Smith. I think it's possible with Diaz here because it's a good arm.
To me, the Dylan Smith thing that never made any sense because they invest all this time to make him in a reliever, and then they just but they let somebody else stick around.
Yeah, I mean, and just when you follow the chain of transactions there, I think they DFA'd him. I think to get Connor Siebold, right?
Yeah, who
they then DFA'd and then traded back to Toronto for a low A reliever named Juanmi Vasquez, who's not any good. Pardon that family of Juanmi, but yeah, but again, it just kind of shows you. People always like to use the word fungible for relievers. There's so many of them, and it's almost like catching lightning in a bottle when you get one that's good, because it doesn't necessarily last long. You look at someone like Camilo Doval, who was a good closer for San Francisco and has been kind of a disaster in New York. It's so hard to know. You just got to keep taking chances and hope you get them at the right time.
Maybe this is the case with Diaz. And I could see him, you're talking about 2 or 3 weeks. That makes the timeline makes sense. That's around the trade deadline. As Tigers might, at this point, who knows what the Tigers are going to do with the trade deadline? I honestly, I'm quite frankly tired of bringing it up, but I know it comes up to often all the time. And as part of our reshuffle of the prospects, we're waiting to do our list because we did the midseason update. We just did the midseason update. And then I did a top 30 on our Patreon for adding our draft picks. That was my own personal top 30. And so I just want to see what's going to happen with the deadline and see maybe Diaz sneaks in there. Who knows? As a prospect at this point. But we'll see. But
those are the sneaky prospects, the ones that like the relievers who are technically still like, oh yeah, you throw him in. I will say, when you're throwing this many breaking balls, right? The one hit he gives up was a pretty hard hit double off the wall, and it was on a hanging breaking ball. If you throw a lot of breaking balls, eventually you're going to hang one. But before that, a lot of really good. And again, it's the gyro slider, right? So it's not a ton of horizontal movement. It just kind of sinks and drops a little bit to the left at the end. But hitters can't seem to square it up for the most part when he's throwing it right. So, yeah, just a name to remember, and we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here. And then the last thing I want to, before we get out of here, is like the one thing I have noticed with his delivery here. I won't say there's a head whack, but there's a little bit of head move, like it kind of.
It's
follow through. Go ahead.
No, it's a reliever delivery, like straight up. Like I think I was comparing his kind of setup. It reminded me a little bit of like the way he's just kind of crouched and coiled reminds me a little bit of K-Rod.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're throwing, anyway, he did a 1 inning stint, a 2 inning stint, and a 1 1/3 inning stint in these 3 clips, and that's about all he asked for.
Yeah. All right. Well,
get some else.
Yeah, there we go. So thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for listening. And if you are watching this after our Max Clark interview or before Max Clark interview, Colin, again, down in Toledo on Thursday, was able to talk to Max Clark about just a season update, get his view on playing with some veterans, and doing some good work. And we're going to be, again, trade rumor night, whatever that is. We'll be doing a live show, and more likely, Jackson Job is starting this week, and we might do a live simulcast as similar with Just Baseball did on Thursday, which you can check out on Just Baseball's channel. So thanks so much for watching. Have yourself a good rest of the day or evening or whatever you're doing.